All right, welcome everybody. I'd like to give a big warm welcome to Jennifer Ottowitz, who works for the National Research and Training Center at Mississippi State. Um, I believe I met Jennifer in the 90s when she worked at Vision Forward, and she has worked several careers in the blindness field since then. So she will talk about that. So I will start out by, we're going to do kind of a question and answer thing here. So Jennifer, if you could please begin by telling a little bit about yourself, your job title, what your job entails, and how long you've been working there.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bauman. I appreciate the invitation to join you. I'm excited to be here. As you said, my name is Jennifer Ottowitz, and I live in West Allis, Wisconsin, with my husband and our cat, Wilson. And I am legally blind. I've been legally blind since I was born. I grew up in southeastern Ohio, and I have two sisters who are also legally blind. We all have the same hereditary condition. It's called hereditary mucoepithelial dysplasia, and it affects different parts of the body, including parts of the eye. I had my first cataract surgery when I was 12, cataract surgery on my other eye when I was 15 years old, and then developed glaucoma, and that's what I've been treated for ever since. And I also have blood vessels growing in my cornea where they're not supposed to be growing, which makes things pretty hard to see. And my sisters and I all had better vision when we were younger. It's gotten worse over time. When I first started school, I was able to use large print books, those really big, clunky, large print books. And then in third grade, I started to use a stand magnifier that my teacher gave me out of a science kit. And that was very, very helpful. Made things a lot easier to see. In sixth grade, I started using a closed circuit TV, or now they call them video magnifiers. And that was really amazing for helping me be able to read, especially long amounts of print, but also be able to see pictures. And that device was not anything like what video magnifiers are today. It was a big, chunky TV, not a flat screen. And then there was a platform with a TV camera that was pointed upside down, kind of mounted on it. And that's I had to move my book under that, and it was kind of awkward and cumbersome, but compared to today's technology. But I'll tell you, it was really amazing, and really made things a lot easier for me. But my vision, again, got worse over time. When I got to college, I started using audiobooks. I learned to use my white cane when I was a junior in college, and I started to learn Braille right when I started graduate school. I'll talk a little bit more about kind of those, that path to my career in a little bit, but that just kind of gives you an idea where how my vision progressed. Just some things I like to do in my spare time. I like to watch movies. I like to listen to music, go out to eat and travel. And now a little bit about my job. As Mr. Bauman said, I work for the National Research and Training Center on Blindness and Low Vision, and they're actually located at Mississippi State University in Starkville, Mississippi. But I get to work remotely from home, which is very nice. Um, my official title is Research Associate 3, and I'm considered a professional staff with the university, but my everyday job title that I use is Older Blind Specialist. And the job that I do, my salary is paid for by two different grants, and the one that pays most of my salary is a grant that's our Older Individuals Who Are Blind Technical Assistance Center. And basically, what I do with this is I call it Train the Trainers. So I help provide information and support to professionals who work with older adults, people 55 years and older, anywhere in the country and the US territories. And I, again, provide information, training, resources to them, and then they go out and do teaching. orientation and mobility, Braille teaching, daily living skills, and other services to help. But what I do particularly in my job, some of the things that it entails are coordinating and facilitating monthly webinars. So I get to think about topics that might be of interest to professionals, find speakers, work with them to plan the webinars, and on the day of the webinars, I host the webinar. I get to use my writing skills to help with writing some of our free online continuing education courses that we offer to professionals. And I use my organizational skills whenever I have to coordinate courses that are written by somebody else. So I'm kind of like the project leader. And so I have to know all the steps involved, know who's doing what, make sure things get done, they get done well, and they get done on time. I also get to do presentations with my job, so I'll present at conferences, both in person and virtually. And then I also get to travel, not only to conferences, but also as part of what we call our intensive technical assistance program. And with that, we work with states and do a comprehensive evaluation of the services they provide in their program. And we let them know what we're noticing. We look at it from several different aspects, and we help them identify goals that they can work on for 1 year to help make their services even better, and they can even do a better job of serving the people that they're working with. And so it's really a lot of fun. It's a lot of variety. A lot of things I've never done before, and so it's really exciting. And I just started working there in September of 2022, so it has not been that long.
Thank you. And just a note, I've spent a little time on the NRTC's website over the last week or so, and I've actually been subscribing to their emails for a long time, but they do a lot of really cool things, obviously a lot of research, but they offer resources for employers, for job seekers, for vision professionals. So I would recommend getting on their mailing list to find out about all the cool things that they're doing. For the next question, Jennifer, can you please explain the path that led you to this job?
Yeah, thanks. I knew I always wanted to be a teacher. I was kind of a nerd in school. I really loved school. I loved learning, and I really had good teachers that I really admired. And I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And when I was getting ready to go to college, I was looking at the different majors that the college I got accepted to had, and I found one that, I don't know, for some reason it just hit me that this is what I wanted to do. And it was to get a degree in special education for the multiply disabled. And so that's what I went to college for, Kent State University in Ohio. And then while I was there, I decided that, well, I really like school. I'm going to keep going and get my master's degree. But I also decided that I liked the idea of focusing in on working with students who were visually impaired. Because when I was growing up, I don't ever remember working with a TVI or an O&M instructor. But the idea of being able to do that was something I was really fond of. And so I got accepted to graduate school at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, Illinois, and went to school there. But as I was taking my classes, I realized I was one class short of graduating in the fall. And when I did my student teaching, I realized that I really liked working with high school age students. So because I still needed to take classes to officially graduate, I took that, the extra class I needed, but I took additional classes in working with adults, and then became certified as what we now call a vision rehabilitation therapist. And that's just someone who works with adults to teach things like Braille, other communication skills, daily living skills, including cooking, cleaning, home management, laundry, home repair, many different things, and also some technology. And that's the kind of work I've been doing ever since. I worked for 4 years at a center in Illinois, and then moved here to Wisconsin when I found out one of my professors let me know there was a program he was opening. And so I moved here and worked for 15 years at what's now Vision Forward Association in Milwaukee, again, teaching Braille and all those other things to folks that would come into the center. I also got the chance to work with some of the local TVIs and O&M instructors and some of their students. They would come for cooking classes, or I would go out to the school to work with their students, and it really was a lot of fun. I just want to back up for a second, though, too, to share that on the way, I had a couple other jobs. So right before I started college, I worked as a counselor at a church summer camp. And then when I was in my undergraduate years, I worked at a summer camp it was called Camp Cheerful. And it was for people with all different disabilities. We had from younger age kids, elementary age kids, all the way up through adults. And it was a really good experience to get a lot of understanding and learn a lot of things related to people with disabilities. So it fit well with what I was choosing as a career. I even worked for a little while as a personal care attendant for someone who was quadriplegic, who needed assistance just getting out of bed, getting dressed in the morning. So all those things kind of helped relate to what eventually became, kind of my career. Then when I was at Vision Forward, a friend of mine let me know, actually a couple of my friends ended up working for an organization called Hadley, and Hadley provides distance education to people all across the country. So people who are blind or visually impaired, their family members, other professionals. And I had actually taken a Braille course and other courses from Hadley. So I was familiar with them. I really liked what they did, how they did it. So I interviewed for the job and got it. And so then I moved from teaching in person to teaching remotely. And so I worked from home and got to teach about 9 different courses with Hadley, including Braille, one on managing diabetes, one on self-esteem and adjusting with blindness, and other versions of those courses. And then with Hadley, I also got the opportunity to use my writing skills and help write some of the outlines for their new workshops when they kind of transitioned from courses to the format they use now with workshops. And I also got the chance to lead or co-lead online discussion groups too. And I worked for Hadley for 9 years. And then another friend told me about an opening at NRTC with Mississippi State. And it seemed like a good time for a change. And so I interviewed and was lucky enough to get the job. I was a little worried at first that they might want the position to be in person in Starkville, Mississippi, but they were very nice to allow me to work remotely. And it's worked out very nicely ever since. And like I said, it's a really fun place to be. Like I said, lots of different types of activities to do, lots of challenges. So it's a little bit different than working directly with somebody who is blind or visually impaired, but I like that I still can use my experience as a teacher to work with the professionals who are then, going out and teaching others too.
Thank you. Interesting how a little thing like needing an extra course can really shape your career path.
Yep.
Next question, please share some of your greatest rewards and challenges in your job, and you can talk about your current job or previous jobs.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Well, I would say my current job, I'll start with the challenges. I would say technology is one of my big challenges because as I'm learning to do new stuff, I'm a JAWS user. And so, it's always trying to figure out, okay, how do I do this with JAWS? And then sometimes just when I get it figured out, the program will update or JAWS will update. And then what was working is no longer working. And so it's sometimes a lesson in problem solving and a lesson in patience. But I worked through it, and then just, being aware of resources I can go to try to, ask for help when I need it. but we're trying to figure it out on my own as best I can. Sometimes that can be a little challenging. In my current job, I guess rewarding is when somebody, I guess, shares that they found information in one of our webinars or our courses helpful, that they were able to use it. That makes a difference. When I was teaching, working directly with people, I really just loved watching them take off. Like when we'd be working together, and you could tell that they were just getting it, and they were using the skills that we'd been working on, or going even far beyond that. I think that was so exciting, just to watch their success and be in some small way, hopefully to have a small part in that was really nice.
Good, thank you. Next question, what are some of the blindness skills that led to your success in your jobs?
So I mentioned technology. It's a blessing and a curse, right? A challenge and a good thing. I mean, I use technology every day. I mean, most of my work day is spent on the computer. Like I said, I use JAWS, so I have to, have those skills to know how to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, how to send and receive email, look up stuff online, how to set up and participate in meetings in Teams and Zoom, how to use our Canvas, our learning management system, where we have all of our courses. So it's a lot, and just kind of figuring out new ways to do things. I also use an iPhone, so I have to learn, know my voiceover commands, and I have a goal to get even more efficient with how I do things, both on the computer and on my iPhone, because I think sometimes I take the long way to get there, and there's got to be a shorter, easier way. But I use my iPhone to check emails, especially when I'm traveling, to go online and do things, and then even to access apps, like for when I'm flying, to check my flight status, to check in, things like that. I even have a virtual app now to help. I don't usually wear a lot of makeup, but it's an app to give you feedback on if your makeup is I guess if you need a little more or less, things like that. So it's just to help with personal presentation, that type of stuff too. So iPhone is a big one. Braille. I learned Braille kind of a little bit later in life. Like I said, is when I started graduate school, but I use Braille a lot. And when I give presentations, I always have my notes in Braille. I do have a refreshable Braille display with my computer. I mostly use it to check spelling and check. I kind of use it as my backup, but I love having it here. It's extremely helpful for that. I use a Braille calendar in addition to the one on my computer and my phone, and I'll label things in Braille. And my travel skills, I do use a white cane. And so for orientation and mobility, I need to make sure that I'm able to orient myself and navigate okay in my hotel rooms when I'm traveling around the hotel. When I'm at the airport, a lot of times I will get assistance to the gate, but I still need to know and have good mobility skills to be able to jump up when they call for pre-boarding, because sometimes they don't always have somebody there to guide me, so I have to be proactive and take the lead and get up and head toward where I'm supposed to be, to ask for help and be an advocate for myself. And that is a big thing, being a self-advocate, to not just ask for what you need, but to let people know what you need when they try to help you, and maybe you don't always need their help. Daily living skills would be another one. Even though I work from home, I want to look professional every day, so I want to be able to, have my routines down, have good grooming and hygiene habits, make sure I'm on time, make sure that when I do give presentations, that I look professional. My clothes are clean. They're matching. They're, not wrinkled. And yeah, just make, kind of I think a combination of all blindness skills. One I wanted to mention too is just communication. Um, And by this I mean too nonverbal communication. So being able to make eye contact with people whenever I am doing an in-person presentation, and then also just trying my best to make sure I'm looking at the camera or in center as much as possible when I'm giving virtual presentations. And then it's also, and this sometimes gets hard for me, but not interrupting. Waiting to let people talk during a conversation, and really listening to what they're saying, and being an active listener rather than always jumping in with, "Yeah, I did that too," and all about me, but really listening and taking interest in other people. So I think that's sometimes a blindness skill we forget about, but it's a really important one too.
Really good advice. Thank you. Um, Again, the name of this webinar is Professional Mentor Webinar, and the focus is on mentors. I think that all people, whether people with disabilities or not, we all have had mentors in our lives. And that leads to the next question, which is, who are some of your mentors and how did they influence or motivate you?
Sure. Well, this was an interesting question because I've had a lot of role models in my life. Like I said, my teachers were role models, but to me, a mentor is a little bit more. So it's somebody that, and this is kind of how they influenced me too, to speak to that part of your question. But I think of a mentor as somebody that I learn from, whether it's something they've taught me directly or I just learned from their example. I just learned from watching them, listening to them, kind of checking out how they're doing things. Um, it's somebody that encourages me, but then also gives honest and constructive feedback. So it's somebody that I feel comfortable if they tell me that maybe I should have done things a different way, or even that I should not have done things a certain way, because I need that feedback. Or if maybe I think I look okay, but something's out of place, or maybe my shirt has stains, or the colors don't match, or something. And giving me that feedback is really important. Um, I've appreciated them just you know me being able to ask questions and get guidance and advice from them whenever I'm not sure about something, or I have a question, or I want to run something by them. Like, this is how I thought I would handle it. What do you think of this kind of thing? That's a major way that they've influenced me as well. But the people that come to mind, I'll just use first names, but the first name is Judy. And Judy was one of my instructors in graduate school. And she has been a mentor. We became friends. We actually ended up becoming co-workers then at Hadley. And she's just someone that I've always been amazed at. Her knowledge is incredible. I know I can always go to her when I have questions about just about anything. Um, and but then she's also come to me, which is it like just blows my mind that my mentor is coming to me to ask some questions too. But she really helped teach me some of the blindness skills and how to teach them, and how to be a teacher who myself am visually impaired. Because how am I going to know if I'm teaching cooking whether somebody's holding the knife correctly, right? So there's some special considerations to think about. And so or if I'm teaching somebody how to use a magnifier, understanding all about that, and how to tell if they're holding it correctly, and that type of thing. Lynn is another one of my mentors. And Lynn is somebody who actually graduated from the Wisconsin School for the Blind and Visually Impaired many, many years ago. And Lynn was one of the first blind people that I really had the chance to get to know and hang out a lot with. I also met her in graduate school. She was worked in the office for students with disabilities, and I learned from her. She was just very kind, and open about sharing how she did things in her life as a blind person, and helping me expand just my mind and my repertoire of how I could do things. And she again was a great role model, as somebody who was living a happy, successful life. And then the third person is Charmaine. And Charmaine works as an orientation and mobility specialist. She was actually my supervisor at Hadley for a while. And Charmaine is somebody, again, I feel really comfortable going to for guidance and advice. She has really great people skills. If I ever had a question about communicating with somebody, and I want to say something, but I don't want to set them off or make them mad. What's a good way to phrase it? She's always great for that type of advice, and really I just love watching how she communicates with everybody, and stays connected to everybody too. And then the last person I'll talk about is somebody from my current job, and her name is Adele. And Adele, she has a lot of experience. She's been in the field for many, many years. She's done a lot of research, which is something, an area I'm interested in doing more of someday. She's also written a lot of professional journal articles and things like that. And so again, I like to kind of pick her brain when it comes to writing. But what I love about Adele is she's very down to earth. I just talked with her today, and we were talking about, she was telling me where she buys some of her clothes, and giving me advice. Oh, they're really comfortable, and so it's just somebody that, again, not only do you look up to them, but you just feel comfortable making mistakes in front of, and again, continuing to learn from them in so many ways. I hope that helped answer that question.
Thank you. I liked how you clarified between role model and mentor, and I also like the emphasis on needing to feel comfortable and also feeling vulnerable, like, asking about a mistake or something. So great answer. We have two more questions, and then we will open it up to the audience for questions from you guys. So next question, looking back to when you were in high school, what would you tell yourself, or what might you have done differently?
That's a great question. So when I was in high school, it wasn't all fun and roses. I honestly did not have many friends. I was by myself a lot, usually the last person picked, for things. I remember, going on field trips. I'd end up at the table with the teachers because everybody else had paired up or, grouped up, and I was not in the in crowd to be in with everybody else. But overall, um, I I don't know that I would change things, because everything that happened to me made me who I am today. And if I change something, I'm not sure how that would affect who I am today. But what I would tell myself is to hang in there, that this too shall pass, that if there's a time when you're feeling maybe sad about something, or embarrassed because something happened, or frustrated, those feelings, although they seem like they're going to last forever, they don't. That time goes on and those feelings go away. Um, I'd also tell myself to just believe in myself and imagine myself, being successful in different situations, because that belief in yourself is going to help motivate you, and it's going to help just you keep that positive attitude as you work toward things. And just to hang in there too, because there are always going to be new opportunities, and you can make those new opportunities into things that are other than where you are right now. So where you are in high school is not the person you're going to be 50 years from then. Um, and yes, I think that's pretty much it.
Great answer. Thank you. The last question for all of you young job seekers out there, what is the most important advice you can share with young job seekers?
Okay, well, actually, I have two, so I hope that's okay. But two pieces of advice. The first one is just to realize that every job counts. That sometimes you may have an idea of a dream job that you want out of high school, and it's you want to work on developing the skills to get that job. You want to pursue getting that job, but it may not happen right away. And sometimes I've seen people just, do nothing. I mentioned some of the jobs I had early on, like working at summer camps. Um, every job counts. Every job can be an opportunity, not just to earn some income. That's really motivating in and of itself, right? But they're great opportunities to further develop your skills, to use your skills and your talents, to just get used to kind of that workday routine and schedule, to work on your problem solving skills, on what to do when things go wrong, work on your self advocacy skills, your communication skills whenever you're having to interact with a lot of different types of people. And then of course it's going to look good on your resume too. But when you're first starting out looking for a job, try not to think that jobs are beneath you, because they are going to be very important for helping you in all those ways that I just mentioned. And that's going to make you an even stronger candidate for when you're trying to get your dream job. That's number one. Number two would be just to remember that it's up to you. It really is up to you. Hopefully, while you're in school, you're getting a lot of help and support from your teachers, from your TVI, your O&M instructor. They can be so critical in helping you develop the skills that you need to help you feel comfortable as you're trying new skills that you're learning, and giving you feedback. After high school, you still have support, but it's not quite at the same level. And so it's going to be up to you to decide what and when and how things happen to you. And you can take an active role, and you should take an active role in doing that. It's up to you to know that blindness should not be an excuse for getting out of doing things, and that that you're not going to get a job handed to you just because you're blind. You want to advocate for yourself. So let people know what you need and what you want, but also realize that there may be times when the world just does not, unfortunately, and I must say bend, but doesn't necessarily, give us what we want. And so then we have to figure out what to do next, right? So it's kind of that combination of advocacy and then making adjustments to problem solve and handle situations. And it's up to you to take pride in your work, whatever work you're doing. So I mentioned taking some jobs, that may not be your dream job. Take pride in those, no matter what it is, as well as your dream job. And then just know that it's up to you to believe in yourself, because again, when you do that, it's going to help you in the long run.
Great answers. I hear a lot of self-advocacy in your answers. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We have about 15 minutes left, so we can now open the mics and if people have questions. But first of all, I will start out by asking Kay if there's anything in the chat.
There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. And I don't recall, do you unmute everybody or do they unmute themselves?
They'll be able to unmute themselves.
Okay.
And if they can raise their hand, that's great, or use the chat or just speak up too. Oh, Lindsay.
Hi, Jennifer. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
yeah, how are
Hi.
you?
Good. I'm an orientation and mobility specialist, and I heard it sounded like you didn't really have a lot of support in school. And I'm wondering because it has been tricky, to pretty much sell the idea of orientation and mobility to students. And I'm just curious, how was it for you to learn those skills as an adult versus if you had learned them when you were in school?
Great question. So first, I will clarify. We did have. I was fortunate enough. We had support when I was in school, from the regular classroom teachers, and like the guidance counselor was the one who arranged when I needed extra time to take the ACT test to get into college. So it just wasn't a traditional through a vision teacher or an O&M instructor. But and I should say. To make it make sense, I was mainstreamed through all my education, and it was a real rural, small town school district and everything. So that could be one of the reasons why. But yeah, but just to clarify that, my O&M story, I will tell you, as an adult, and I saw this with a lot of clients I would work with as a vision rehab therapist too, that unfortunately, sometimes it takes something bad happening or almost happening before people are ready to accept O&M training. In my situation, even though my vision was getting worse, I noticed when I was walking around campus, I wouldn't see steps, and so I would fall. One time I was going to a practicum. I had to take a bus from the campus out into a neighborhood I wasn't familiar with. I knew the route of how to get to the school and back to the bus stop, but it was winter in northern Ohio, which is a lot like winter in Wisconsin, so very snowy. And I couldn't see the sidewalk. I was not using a white cane at the time, so I thought, okay, I'll just walk along the side of the road. Well, somehow I crossed over to the opposite side of the road. And instead of heading, I'll just pick a direction because I'm not sure which direction I would have been going, but instead of going east, I went west. Okay. And I was totally lost. And I had no idea where I was. I wasn't able to see the houses very well to know if I was even in a safe neighborhood or not. And so it wasn't a very busy street, a real residential area. So a couple of cars went by, and I very weakly tried to put my thumb up like I was trying to hitchhike because I didn't know what else to do. And then I heard somebody open their garage door. So I called them and just asked, hey, I need some help. I'm trying to get back to, and I mentioned the name of the street that I knew where the school was located. And just as I'm talking to this person, I went up their driveway to talk to them as they were in the garage. A car pulled up and said, hey, are you going back to campus? I can give you a ride. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. And I got in the car with a total stranger that I had no idea who it was. And the good news is it ended up being someone who worked, he was a janitor in my dormitory, and he recognized me. And he took me back to campus, to my dorm. I was safe. Everything was fine. But all my friends, my advisor at the university, they yelled at me. And I realized what a dumb move that was. Anything could have happened to me, right? And but it really took that to kind of kick me into okay, now I need to learn how to use a white cane and I need to get training. I've worked with a lot of adults who will unfortunately either fall or almost fall in a hole. They might almost get hit by a car. And so, it's not all adults. Some adults we can, you know, really talk about how orientation and mobility training can help them, even if they're not using a white cane, what it can do for them. But sometimes you're right, Lindsay. It's a hard sell. It's a really hard sell, and you never want anything bad to happen to people. But that's just something I've learned kind of over time too. So you do your best to make it meaningful and relevant to the individual person, and to really help them see how the training would help make it easier, make it more safe for them in the long run. So I don't know if that answers your question.
She's given a thumbs up.
Okay.
This is Kay. There are 2 questions in the chat. First one is and this is from Ms. Ekstrom and her student. When working with Braille readers, what would you recommend as a fluency rate to work toward?
Oh, that's a good question. And it depends on the goals for the student, and is Braille their primary reading mode, and also the task too. So for example, I'd like to say, every fast Braille reader should be over 100 words per minute, right? And I will tell you, if you're going to college, if you're going to be using Braille to access your notes and you're giving lots of presentations, or you're working at a job at a call center where you're reading a script instead of reading it off the computer, you're going to be reading it off a Braille display. You're going to want fast Braille reading skills, right? If you're working for the IRS or other programs where you're doing that type of work, you want fast Braille skills. If you're casually reading a magazine on a Saturday afternoon, then you don't have to be that fast, because even fast Braille readers are not fast, don't read as fast as they can every time they pick up Braille, right? So it really depends, though, if you're a casual reader, if you're going to be using it more for school, more for work. When I work with older adults, 50 words per minute, 60 words a minute may be okay, depending on what they want to use it for. So yeah, it's not a hard, fast number, but just some things to think about.
And they say, thank you, that completely makes sense.
Right.
This is the second question. She says, you may have said this because she came in late, but did you have opportunities to attend camps such as Lions Camp? And if so, how important was it for you to be around other blind or visually impaired people?
Great question. I always say, I don't know, I never took advantage of those opportunities. It didn't mean they didn't exist, but I never did. I went to church camp for several years. And I was the only visually impaired person there, and so I enjoyed kind of that summer camp experience. But having my 2 sisters, we were the only family visually impaired kids at my school. There was another school in our district that had a family with some kids that were visually impaired, but we never really hung out with them or associated with them. They lived in a different town, and it just, wasn't that easy. So I really didn't get to meet a lot of people who were blind or visually impaired till I went to graduate school. That was the first time. So, the value of meeting others at something like a summer camp, I think there's a lot of value in it. And it's one of these things that when I first got around a lot of people who were blind and visually impaired, it was just fascinating to me to learn how they did things and to see how well they did them. I will say that being mainstreamed and kind of, being with folks who were sighted more often, I did have to learn how to fend for myself, So I had a friend of mine once said he was mainstreamed through his elementary years, and he went to the school for the blind for his high school years. And he would always say that, kind of regular ed taught him how to survive. And when he went to the school for the blind, it taught him how to thrive. And so I kind of look at it like that. So you want to surround yourself by people who are blind and visually impaired, get to know them. You get to learn so much, and you develop a real sense of community. But you also have to survive, with sighted folks and folks of all abilities too. So to kind of take advantage of all opportunities that come your way.
And she says, thank you. Such great things to consider for our students.
I would just throw out there too, I don't know, you probably heard me say that, several of my job opportunities came from somebody I knew let me know about a job opportunity. And so I would say, just try to make connections. You never know when somebody that you may have interacted with years down the road will come back and they remember you. And so they may let you know about an opportunity that comes up. Maybe not, they might not be the one who's hiring, but maybe they'll let you know about an opening. And so, just try to connect with people. Again, a wide variety of people too, because it's amazing sometimes how those connections can be helpful.
Absolutely. Do we have any other questions? Nothing else in the chat?
Nothing else in the chat.
All right, last call. Any shy people out there want to ask anything of Jennifer while we have her here? All right, well, once again, I thank you so much, Jennifer. That was great. Lots of insight you shared. I hope that people can really get something out of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who attended.